So where do you draw the line? It's a difficult area, and to re-emphasise the CFO's point, all the investments comply with our policy and are legal, but we haven't made ethical and moral judgments.
So, Madam Chair, I appreciate that response, but it is a surprise to a number of us that we, even with that policy in place, we've found ourselves being investors indirectly in a tobacco company, a very controversial tobacco company. So my question is, and we aren't confident at this stage, and I very hope we are not found to be investing in directly in, say, weapons manufacturers, in cluster munitions or those sorts of categories. That would be a real worry. Now, we have discovered that we are investors in a tobacco company, and one that has been the subject to class action lawsuits in the US, numerous class action lawsuits. So it begs the question, does this responsible investment policy require review? Now, considering that the investments in the tobacco company are legal, I would suggest that we need to confirm a review of the policy to ensure we are making specific exclusions, that it is a broad policy as it is now, but that it does need to be specific about such things as tobacco and about such things as weapons manufacturing, cluster bombs, anti-personnel mines, nuclear, gambling, pornography. I think it does need to be the subject of review. And I would also like to see a more targeted sell down, as we discover the information, a more targeted sell down of those indirect investments that might fall into the categories that I've described there. So I'm very willing to hear the other councillors contribute here today, but I am very concerned that the policy that we have in place at the moment, which we are complying with, has allowed an investment in this particular tobacco company to slip through. So my feeling is that we need to review that policy.
Just through you, Chair, if I can respond to that. Look, we can review the policy and come up with all sorts of investments that we agree not to be in. In reality, what that would mean is we would have to invest directly. Now, as we mentioned, we are part of some very big global funds, and when we talk about a fund size of 320 million going down to 220 million, reality is we're not in a position where we can go to fund managers and say, we like 90% of your stocks but not the others, please divest. I think we know what reaction we'd get. So we'd be forced to invest directly, and that would add to the cost and complexity of the operation.
Sorry, Madam Chair, look, I know a bit about this area. I totally disagree. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of ethical funds around the world, and they're growing by the day. There are people wanting to place money ethically, governments, local governments, companies, individuals. There are specific funds, and you can just Google them, and you will get 1,000 on your list. You can find them. Again,
through you, Madam Chair, look, there are ethical funds, but again, what everyone takes as ethical and moral differs completely. For example, your case about gambling stocks, I mean, is it acceptable to invest, say, in Woolworths, which own Countdown, which sell a lot of tickets? I mean, where do you draw the line? Everyone will have a different view.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. No, yeah. I mean, I think the question has to be, how much do we want to be in this space or not?
That's right.
I mean, that's the bottom line. But anyway, I know several people...
lotto tickets.
Yeah, well, they do, and that's gambling. I'm sorry, Councillor Casey. Okay, you've had your hand up. You have a go.
Yep. Thank
Up,
you
down,
so much.
just
Well,
say.
first of all, Sue, we may have $750,000 invested in British
Councillor
American
Casey,
tobacco. We may have.
Councillor
Do we or
Casey,
don't we?
Councillor Casey, I am not going to have you shout at staff.
I'm not shouting. I'm raising my voice.
You are shouting
I'm
at
not.
staff. This is a very, very emotional for you.
This is the biggest embarrassment for this council in years.
And it's not the biggest embarrassment.
Oh, it is indeed. If I can just go on.
It is not the biggest
On the
embarrassment.
same day that lawyers are coming around each and every one of us and we're signing off a conflict of interest paper. Some of us have got 3 pages of it. Here we have a council investing in Sky City, who makes submissions to our smoke-free policy, our unitary plan, our Auckland plan, and whatever else. In every document, Sky City has a say. And we're investing in them.
We're not.
And I'm looking at you, but I'm not needing an answer.
We may.
Through you,
Let's look to what?
Just through you, Madam Chair, the reason why we're saying we may is the data we have is at, in most cases, 30 June. So what's happened in those funds prior to that date we're not aware of. Now, the reason why we don't have up-to-date information as to the day is that where funds position themselves in relation to the market and the indices they're judged upon is confidential and proprietary information to those funds. That's why the Chief Financial Officer added the word may.
So when, Sue, will we have the confirmation that we may have $750,000 invested in the British American Tobacco Company?
Through you, Madam Chair, as the Treasurer has just stated in response to the question that's been asked, that it's proprietary information to the funds themselves. We have requested the details. We need to make you aware that we cannot, they are not obliged to give us the details down to every equity. We can ask, we may not receive, and hence why use the language we may have. We do not, and I'd like to also clarify another point, Council does not directly invest in Sky City or Sky TV.
No.
I think, Madam Chair, it's really important to stop raising a potential conflict of interest which does not exist.
I don't know if it exists or not
Well,
because I
we're-
don't know what shares we hold.
We have told you and explained that we invest via completely independent parties. We have no say in where that money is invested, and we do not have conflicts of interest arising from these investments.
Well, here's the thing. The Auditor General tells us it's not just conflict of interest, it's perceived conflict of
Well,
interest.
hang on. Let's
Perceived
be-
conflict
How
of
is it?
interest. And if
just-
each and every one of us has to be squeaky clean about investments, this council needs to be the same. And I'm horrified that we don't have the information. And just look south to Dunedin City Council. They this year offloaded all their unethical shareholdings. So we don't have to go far to find out what an ethical investment policy looks like.
Just to you again, Madam Chair, I mean, it's very easy to pick at individual investments, why some people don't like them, but, I mean, are we all absolutely confident what's in our KiwiSaver funds?
Yes, and what's
That's
an
exactly.
ACC? ACC have found themselves in
And what the
some
ports are
very
bringing in.
difficult-
The ports are bringing in all of those sorts of goods.
Goodness gracious me. And
Well,
do
they
we
better
ever
not
go
be
to
bringing
Sky
in cluster
City for
bombs.
dinner? Some of us do.
They're bringing in cigarettes.
It's for the election.
We should sell our assets if we
Can I
can't
just
sure.
finish, or what?
Yes, go on.
It's just interesting that staff are engaging in political debate.
Sorry.
In the same week that the Chief Executive withdrew, with my 100% support, sugary drinks from recreation centre vending machines, we learned that we may have, this was from Radio New Zealand, and this hasn't been mentioned, we may have Coca-Cola shares, we may have Hershey's chocolate shares, and heaven knows what else. It's like, it's the same again, George, it's embarrassing. Our Auckland plan, our Auckland plan says we want to reduce the harm from tobacco, we want to reduce the harm from alcohol, we want to reduce the harm from gambling. There's the basis of an ethical investment policy. We don't have to go any further than that as a start off.
And actually,
So
I
embarrassing.
like Hershey bars.
portfolio
I'm sorry,
regulation,
but I
no
think this
eating
is an
chocolate.
absolute example of where council laws, thank goodness, we have hands off these diversified assets.
Well, I support any move to review immediately this whatever
So you
policy
would-
lets
you
us
would-
keep
you would-
shares in tobacco
So
and
you,
war.
Councillor Casey, you would agree that we could sell down the whole fund as quickly as possible?
It's not about selling down the whole fund as quickly as possible. I didn't support the divestment. It's about ethical investment. Take the fund and put it somewhere where it earns money but doesn't cause harm. How about that?
Councillor Walker.
I just want to endorse, first of all, the comments that Councillor Darby made and also Councillor Casey. I'm pretty concerned about this. just regarding other councils, I'm certainly familiar with Dunedin, and I understand that there are many councils around the world that have ethical investment practices and have had them for quite some time. We're the laggards, we're by no means in the front. My understanding is also that when you subject those funds to analysis, that they're also significantly lower risk, often better return. So there are some very good arguments for doing this, and for me, it's a very high priority, because councils like ours are some of the few institutions that people look to for the highest ethical standards. I'll repeat that, the highest ethical standards,
Sounds like John Banks.
because the
used to repeat
money
like that, didn't
that
he?
we're talking about is not our money, it's public money.
Correct.
It's their money. So we have to subject ourselves to the highest bar, and we should be.
So can I just clarify that point, maybe either the Chief Financial Officer or the Chief Executive? This is not ratepayers' money. This is a fund that came to us from the Auckland investment, whatever it was, years ago, and then the ARC.
Yeah, they
This
did.
is
Didn't
not
they invest it?
ratepayers' money, and we are being recorded, so I'm making that perfectly plain.
Well, I challenge that, Madam
Well,
Chair.
you can
The money
challenge
that
it.
we hold
The
is held
money-
in trust for the people of Auckland. Is it not?
But it's not.
If I'm wrong, I stand corrected.
Councillor Walker, you're giving the impression that we're taking this money off the ratepayers to put into this fund. We're not.
I'm not
Do you want
suggesting
to-
it's from ratepayers, but our funds are held in trust, effectively, for the people of Auckland.
That's not quite what you said, but never mind, that's fine.
Well, I said it's
Correcting it.
public money.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
I guess, Madam Chair, for me, it's very easy to get quite hysterical about this. And what we've got to do is... Oh. I'm not.
Hysterical.
I mean, I think the thing is that
Seem
we've got
hysterical.
to have a
You wanna
bit,
see
we've
hysterical?
got to actually have a balance here. We've been reassured by the staff that's 0.02% of our fund, which is very small, and I do support what the staff say. It's actually down to an interpretation whether you think something's unethical or not. Cigarettes, gambling, chocolate are not illegal. They're not illegal. And there's a lot of measures. I'm trying to cut down my chocolate. There's lots of stop smoking campaigns, and there's huge efforts by many organisations to minimise harm, including with alcohol, including this organisation with its LAP. And I think on the other hand of this, some of the very people that are saying they don't like this didn't want to get rid of this fund. Well, we're getting rid of it. And I'm really happy to move a recommendation that we sell the whole lot down straight away, because it would actually help us. We wouldn't have to borrow 300 million. We could use what we've already got effectively in the bank. So, you know, there's an easy solution, but you can't have it both ways, Madam Chair. So I'm very comfortable with the explanation. I think we're going away towards selling down what some people may think is unethical. But at the end of the day, we've got to be balanced, and we've got to just put a sensible lens over this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hulse.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I know Councillor Darby has what I think is a sensible recommendation that I'm happy to second. It is a toughie, you know, the issues
Point of order,
of
Madam
ethics
Chair.
are...
Point of order.
Extraordinary items.
Sorry.
Can understanding orders in the extraordinary business, can we actually, that actually states that no resolution, decision or recommendation may be made in respect to that item?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
let's not lose our brag over it.
But you can actually, I think you need to see the recommendation before.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Point of order. In the extraordinary items of business section in the standing orders, it clearly indicates that there are two directions you can have gone in relation to a extraordinary item. One is a minor item where there is no resolution put to the meeting And I think that's the way that we're dealing with this, because you clearly indicated there would be no need for a resolution. The other is where a resolution is put to the table, put to the meeting, and that is voted on. We didn't do that. So I don't believe that you can take a motion in relation to this matter, and I haven't got the things in front of me right now, but I do believe that that is the situation.